An NFL head coach just boarded a plane. Not to attend a league meeting, not to scout a prospect, he is personally flying out to sit down with Deion Sanders, and every single reporter in Cleveland who spent months mocking this family's involvement is now completely silent. No columns, no segments, no sarcastic takes, just silence. And that silence is the loudest thing that has happened in this entire quarterback conversation since Shedeur Sanders was drafted. What Todd Monken did was not just answer a question, he made a statement. And once you understand exactly what was said, who said it, and what it actually means at the NFL level, you will realize that the Cleveland media did not just get this wrong. They handed Shedeur Sanders the most powerful validation of his young career without even realizing it. We are going to break down every single detail, every word Monkin said, every throw Shedeur made, and every moment the Cleveland media establishment chose to look the other way when the truth was unfolding directly in front of them. Stay with this because nothing about what happened here is small. A reporter pointed a microphone at Todd Monken and asked him a straightforward question. Did he plan to meet with Deion Sanders? It was a simple yes or no. Coaches in the NFL are trained to manage those moments carefully. They give safe answers, they protect the locker room, they avoid anything that could turn into a headline. That is the unwritten rule of the press conference. Monken did not follow the rule. He looked straight ahead and said he could not wait. 3 words, no hesitation, no political spin, no careful diplomatic language designed to satisfy the reporter without actually saying anything. He said he could not wait with the kind of energy that made it immediately clear this was not a courtesy. This was genuine enthusiasm from a head coach who has been around this league long enough to know exactly how his words land. Every columnist who wrote a piece framing Deion Sanders as an unwanted presence, every radio host who made jokes about Coach Prime inserting himself where he didn't belong, every analyst who described Deion's desire to be involved in his son's career as a distraction, a circus, or an ego trip, all of them should be sitting with those 3 words right now. Because not only did Monken not view Deion as an intrusion, he couldn't contain his excitement about the meeting. That is not the response of a man who sees a helicopter parent overstepping boundaries. That is the response of a professional who recognizes another serious mind and wants to get in the room with him as fast as possible. But Monken did not stop there, because what he said next made things significantly worse for the people who built an entire media narrative on a foundation that just collapsed. Here's the detail that most people glossed right over. Deion Sanders had already been planning this trip. He didn't need to be asked. He didn't need to be invited. Long before any reporter made it a news story, Coach Prime had already committed to traveling to Cleveland and sitting down with the coaching staff. The only reason the meeting had not happened yet was a commercial shoot. That's it. A scheduling conflict involving a work commitment, the kind of thing that gets in the way of any professional's calendar. Now here's where it gets remarkable. When Monken found out about the delay, he didn't express frustration. He didn't give a measured response about scheduling. He told the reporter that if Deion let him know the location of the next shoot, he would go there himself. An NFL head coach in the middle of an off-season program, managing a roster, coordinating a staff, preparing for a quarterback competition, offered to travel to a commercial set to meet the father of a rookie quarterback. Let that fully register. He wasn't asked to do that, he volunteered it. The narrative that Cleveland's media establishment built over months was that Deion Sanders was a man pushing his way into a space where he didn't belong, an outsider demanding access, a famous father making his son's professional transition about himself. That was the story they told repeatedly, and in one response, standing at a podium with cameras rolling, Todd Monken quietly demolished every word of it. The coach did not just welcome the involvement, he pursued it. He reached towards it. He went out of his way to make sure it happened on Deion's timeline, not his own.
That is not a father begging for permission. That is a coaching staff that has already identified what Shedeur Sanders brings to the table. The knowledge of Shedeur's mechanics, the understanding of how he processes pressure, the insight into how he reads a defense, and decided that resource is too valuable to leave sitting on the sideline. When those two men finally sit in the same room together, what happens next is going to be something the rest of the league will not see coming until it is far too late to adjust. While all of this was being discussed at the podium, something else was happening on the field. And if you have not watched the OTA footage closely, you have been missing the real story. Shedeur Sanders threw a touchdown pass to Isaiah Bond during a 2-minute drill that had people on the sideline losing their minds, and they were right to react that way. The ball did not arrive where Bond was, it arrived where Bond was going to be. There is a significant difference between those two things, and most fans do not fully appreciate what it takes to throw that football. Shedeur had to identify the coverage pre-snap, process Bond's route as it developed, and release the ball into a window that had not fully opened yet, trusting that his receiver would arrive at the exact spot at the exact moment the ball came down. The ball was placed perfectly. There was no room for a defender to get a hand in. The only person on that field who could have caught that football was Isaiah Bond. That is not luck. That is not a practice rep getting lucky in a low-pressure environment. That is a quarterback who has spent months in the weight room, in the film room, and on the practice field, building a level of precision that belongs at this level. The throws to Jeudy confirmed it was not a one-time thing. Shedeur was not leaning on one weapon and hoping for the best. He was distributing the football, building chemistry across the receiver room, and making everyone around him look dangerous in the process. That is what a franchise quarterback does. He does not just improve himself, he raises the ceiling of every single player on that field with him. Isaiah Bond's entire breakout at these OTAs has Shedeur's fingerprints on it. Bond was making plays before, but something shifted when Shedeur had the ball in his hands and Bond ran his route. The timing clicked. The trust was immediate. The connection looked like it had been developing for years rather than weeks, and Monkin watched every single rep of it. He does not miss those things. He was an offensive coordinator at the highest level of this game before he became a head coach. He knows what a real quarterback-receiver connection looks like when it is being built, and he knows the difference between a flash and a foundation. What he was watching in those OTAs was a foundation being laid in real time. Then there was the horse head. It sounds strange on the surface. Shedeur Sanders walked into a new building, joined a new coaching staff, entered one of the most scrutinized quarterback competitions in recent memory, and somewhere in the middle of all of that, he found time to give his head coach a horse head as a gift. Odd detail. Easy to laugh off, easy to skip past in a press conference recap. But do not skip past it, because that gift says something that no stat line or highlight reel can fully communicate. Shedeur Sanders did not arrive in Cleveland with his head down, quietly trying to survive the competition. He arrived as a person. He showed up as a human being who pays attention to the people around him, who understands that the relationship with the man calling his plays matters as much as the mechanics of the throw itself. He figured out something meaningful about Todd Monken, something personal enough to turn into a gesture, and he acted on it. Under enormous pressure in a brand new environment, while the entire media world was watching and waiting for him to slip. That is emotional intelligence. That is self-awareness. That is a competitor who understands that football games are won on the field, but careers are built on the relationships surrounding those fields. And when Monkin talked about that gift at the press conference, he called it really cool. The smile that crossed his face when he said it told you everything that phrase left out. This is not a transactional relationship between a head coach and a rookie quarterback trying to survive the cut. This is a genuine human connection that is growing every single week, and it's going to make Shedeur Sanders better in ways that no one in the Cleveland media ever accounted for. When Monkin and Deion finally sit down together, two men who both know Shedeur at a level nobody else does, from completely different angles, the quarterback development plan that comes out of that room is going to be something the rest of the league cannot replicate. Deion knows every mechanical tendency, every pressure response, every mental pattern his son has developed since he was old enough to throw a football. Monkin knows the NFL defenses Shedeur will face, the tools Cleveland has built around him, and the systems designed to put him in positions to succeed. That combination does not exist anywhere else for any other quarterback in this league right now, and it is about to be sitting in the same room, working from the same tape. Now here is what Todd Monken said at the podium that the Cleveland media chose not to make a headline, and it might be the most revealing thing he said all day. A reporter asked Monken if he thought the quarterback depth chart would be settled by the end of minicamp. This is the question the Cleveland media establishment has been waiting on. They have framed the entire competition as something that would eventually resolve in favor of the veteran, and they wanted a timeline attached to that resolution. Monken gave them something they were not expecting. He said he did not know. He said every single day changes things. He said he sees what they see, he watches the film, and what he keeps seeing is two quarterbacks doing exactly what he asks and competing as hard as they possibly can. Read that carefully. A head coach in the NFL, standing in front of reporters with his roster already assembled and his offensive system already installed, said he genuinely does not know when this decision will be made because what he is watching on the field keeps changing the picture. That is not the language of a man who already has his starter picked and is managing optics until training camp. That is the language of a man who came into this offseason expecting one outcome and is watching something on the field that is making him reconsider his timeline in real time. Every day Shedeur sets foot on that practice field, Monkin said, things shift, and he is not hiding that from anyone. He is confirming it out loud, at a microphone, in front of cameras. The coach is publicly telling the world that what is happening with this rookie quarterback is not what he expected, and what he did not expect is apparently good enough to make him push his decision further down the road because he wants to keep watching. That is not a comfortable thing for a coach to admit in a quarterback competition. Coaches prefer certainty. They prefer to project authority and control over the depth chart. Monkin did the opposite. He admitted uncertainty because what he is seeing on the field has earned that honesty. The moment Monkin confirmed that Shedeur was running with the first-team offense on the day media was present to watch a 2-minute drill, every remaining piece of the Cleveland media narrative quietly fell apart. In the NFL, first-team reps are not handed out as a reward. They are not given to a quarterback because you like him personally or because you want to manage his confidence. You give a quarterback first-team reps because you believe, based on everything you have evaluated, that he gives your offense the best chance to function at the level you require. That is the only reason, period. It is not sentimental. It is not political. It is a football decision made by professionals who get paid to make football decisions correctly. On the day reporters were standing on the sideline watching Shedeur throw a perfectly placed touchdown to Isaiah Bond in a 2-minute drill, he was running with the ones. The coaching staff had put him with the starting unit on a day they knew would be covered, on a day that would be clipped and shared and analyzed. That does not happen by accident. The media can acknowledge the rotation all they want. They can talk about the competition being open and both quarterbacks getting their chances. All of that may be technically accurate. But the reps tell a different story than the press conference answers, and Monkin has been distributing those reps in a way that consistently points in one direction.
He is not hiding it. He is showing it. Every single day on that practice field, he is showing it. The Cleveland media just has not been willing to look. There is a version of this story where the Cleveland media gets credit for at least being consistent. They built a narrative, they defended it, they kept pushing it, even as the evidence on the field started moving in a different direction. You can understand the instinct, even if the execution was completely wrong. But what makes this particularly damaging for them is the part they never saw coming. They assumed that Deion Sanders' involvement would be the thing that made coaches and front office executives uncomfortable. They wrote columns about it. They debated it on air. They speculated about locker room tension and organizational friction, and whether an NFL coaching staff would tolerate a famous father hovering over their quarterback room. That was the story they decided to tell, and they told it loudly and repeatedly. And then Todd Monken stepped to the microphone and said he could not wait. He did not say he was managing the situation. He did not say he respected Deion's role from a distance. He said he could not wait to sit down with Coach Prime. He said he would fly to wherever Deion happened to be working. He expressed deep respect for what Deion has built as a coach, for what he has sacrificed as a father, and for the level of preparation he has given Shedeur that most NFL quarterbacks never receive from anyone in their corner. Karma does not announce itself. It does not send a warning or a preview. It just arrives. And when it arrives here, it arrives in the form of an NFL head coach publicly dismantling months of calculated mockery with 3 words and a plane ticket. Every segment recorded, every column published, every sarcastic tweet sent about this family's dynamic is now sitting next to Todd Monken's press conference answers, and the contrast is not subtle. The people who were loudest about this being a distraction are now the quietest people in the room. So here's where everything stands. Todd Monken is personally traveling to meet Deion Sanders. Shedeur Sanders is running with the first-team offense and throwing the kind of football that makes coaches smile at podiums without meaning to. Isaiah Bond is having a breakout OTA performance that is directly connected to the chemistry he is building with the rookie quarterback. The head coach publicly admitted that what he is watching on the field every day is making his decision harder to finalize, not easier. And 2 of the most football-intelligent minds Shedeur Sanders has ever been around are about to sit in the same room together and put together a quarterback development plan that the rest of this league will not recognize as a threat until it is already too late. The Cleveland media spent months telling their audiences that this situation was messy, complicated, and unlikely to end well for the Sanders family. They framed Deion as an intruder and Shedeur as a reach. They built a story that required both of those things to be true in order to hold together. Neither of them turned out to be true. The coaching staff does not see an intruder, they see a resource. They do not see a reach. They see a quarterback making their offense look better every time he takes the field. The table that was supposed to be closed to this family has not only been opened, Shedeur Sanders is sitting at the head of it, and the people who tried to keep the door shut are watching from the outside, completely silent, with nothing left to say. That silence tells you everything, because in this business, when you're right, you're loud about it, and when the tape proves you wrong, you go very, very quiet. Monkin already knows where this is going. The tape already knows where this is going. The only people still pretending they don't know where this is going are the ones who built their credibility on a prediction that just got exposed in front of the entire NFL world. Watch the tape, it does not lie, and right now, every single frame of it belongs to Shedeur Sanders. If you believe Shedeur Sanders is going to silence every last doubter in Cleveland, drop a comment below and make sure you're subscribed because this story is only getting started.